What we talking about today? We talking about the company helping make cars wireless again. Like, think about that irony first of all, right? The company helping to make cars wireless again. America doesn't need more coders, it needs builders, right? The United States does not yet have widespread commercial wireless charging highways. Now, I'm not a big fan of the EV situation anyway, but this is part of what's retarding that process, that progress for maybe many Americans, right? Because what exists currently are pilot roads, testing corridors, university research programs, state DOT demos, and limited public deployments. Now, the sector remains experimental, like Drake's last three albums. And as of May 28th, there's no coast to coast charging highways, no nationwide standards, no mass OEM capability, no large scale consumer adoption, and no normalized charging road infrastructure. DPLS, we're going to talk about that in a moment. And this is why you should stop coding and start building for America. The United States might influence you, normative social influence, to still be operating in those primitive fashions. But what we need here is to solve the EV adoption problem. And why that's so valuable is because either the United States is going to control it, or we, the people of America, will control it. And I want my urban PhD, my urban street PhDs to come together and solve this issue before those, in the United States get to it, right? So, current EV limitations are charging downtime, battery weight, lithium dependency, infrastructure bottlenecks, and of course the grid strain. So I'm going to give you this direction, and I want you to, in your circles, delegate the motherfucking solution before the United States gets wind of the final boss of it all, right? So the most accurate summary as of today, basically, is DarkPulse officially has entered a while ago smart roadway electrification market as of late 2022, along with other things that I really appreciate. Like, they were part of the first bridge in California that can self-sense its own integrity, and that's another bonus of their technology. The company is participating through ASPIRE, you say the word, linked infrastructure initiatives. DarkPulse also has publicly discussed smart roads and dynamic EV charging systems with their integrated BOTDA sensing technology, which is the upgraded revision of some legacy technology that they've improved upon. And they're starting to get government contracts as far as government IP and stuff to be able to integrate some products. So looking forward to seeing what they're developing there. And the commercial nationwide deployment, as we mentioned, has not yet occurred, which means this is a great time for you to get involved. I was speaking to someone today, and they were like, I was like, hey, you got any stock tips? I was sitting here looking at the stocks, and it was on my mind. So I just asked, because I'm always inquiring to learn something new. And they were like, no, a lot of people are feeling poor right now. And I was like, this is the great thing for you. It's not any professional advice. I'm an industry thought leader, but not that industry. But this is entertainment purposes, and you do what you want with it, right? Because we all have those pain in the ass clients that make you just want to walk away from everything you've built in the last 5 years. And this is a refreshing alternative for you. Maybe it can replace your need, your codependency for clients altogether, right? So look into this. And EV buyers were sold freedom. So did they actually get the freedom, or is it more like charging anxiety, battery degradation fears, route dependency because you can't go too far off the invisible grid, right? Infrastructure distrust, and that silent range captivity. So imagine the continuity possible. Look at the irony of this statement. Imagine a civilization where movement remains uninterrupted. Roads can think, the infrastructure responds, and systems become predictive rather than reactive. Now, at 3M, I changed it from the legacy maintenance program to a predictive model where instead of waiting for things to break, I was able to implement applications and new infrastructure that allowed us to detect when things should fail before they should fail and schedule resolves before they failed. Machine uptime goes up 7.2 percentage points, 7.7 percentage points, 7 percentage points, whatever, wound up being about 7.7%, because there's a difference between percent points and percentage. But that wound up being about $3 million a year in increased production, right? Just from that alone. So that's why we're looking at people with small businesses. Like, you got small businesses, you got small issues. I'm used to dealing with enterprise level change, like vice chairman. I was literally the vice chairman of the maintenance reliability chapter for 3M Global. Phone calls with Singapore, the whole nine. It was a fun experience, and I look to add that value to the community. But there's a disconnect in people believing that you can help their little $50,000 a year corporation, entity. But we're gonna build with the right people. Let's move on with this conversation. So at that point, the EVs start to make more sense, because now you got motion without the interruption. Imagine not only not having to stop for a charge, but that means you don't even have to stop for gas. Now you might have more people's attention, right? So the biggest current bottlenecks, they say in this conversation hall, is cost. Of course, it's always cost, right? And they're selling people that cost is an interruption, but I'm going to tell you why that's a lie. It's a myth. So the wireless charging roads, they say, are extremely expensive, and estimates for one electrified lane could reach several $1 million per mile. And that sounds like WTF OMG when you first hear it. But I-77 in Charlotte, the toll lanes, okay, the existing ones, not the new ones they just interrupted and canceled, but the existing I-77 express lanes, when it was completed, you can see here it cost around $647 to $650 million. And that was only for 26 miles. Now, I wonder if Charlotte residents, or those who are domiciled here like me in the vicinity of, realize that for 26 miles of corridor improvements, they paid $650 million. That's roughly $25 million per mile. Now, why are we crying about this electrified highway thing? I get that it's in the experimental phases, and things are normally the most expensive when they're experimenting, right? Because you're in the R&D phase. So if we compare the $25 million per mile just for some damn toll lanes so that somebody can get in another traffic jam over there and then be back in the regular lanes, putting, you know how it goes in Virginia, for those that go through Virginia. I don't know if it's still like that, but now compare that to the smart roads. Wireless charging lanes estimates often discussed in pilot ecosystems are in the several $1 million per mile. And it's actually sometimes 5 to 20 million, depending on several things, right? So if we look at the high level overview, the infrastructure type for the existing I-77 North toll lanes was $25. $25. Now that would be the shit, right? I'm buying up some lanes then, but $25 million per USD, because I got a global audience. I appreciate you all. Singapore in the house, per mile. Okay. So proposed the I-77 South expansion was going to be much more expensive. They had all this list. They saw that people were faulting for it, and they wanted to get their name involved with it too. So price went up. Oh, they got to get land. They got to do this, acquisitions, all this other shit. So now all of a sudden it's going to be 290 to 390 million per mile. Now the experimental charging lanes, the experimental wireless charging lanes, are often quoted at being 5 to 20 million per mile. So throw costs out the window, because it seems like it's going to be, at least within reason, if you're willing to pay 290 million to 390 million per mile for toll lanes, right? So that the supposed elite and wealthy could go a little faster and get home 10 minutes sooner, right? For that price, I mean, we could all just get a helicopter service. Uber, call me. Everybody learned the code while the roads forgot how to think. You know what I mean? Everybody talk about street smarts. Now it's time to make the street smart. What I need in America, like I said, I need my street PhDs to build this before the United States. You need to understand that this is a competition. This is a competition, right? Because I know you talk about a lot of freedom. I'm gonna let you think it through. So what we need standardization, because as we said, there's still no universal receiver system. We need the roadway coil or standard, whatever. We need that standardized. Okay. So all you brilliant minds, put down the laptops and let's pick up some solderers. All right. Interoperability framework. You say that 10 times real fast. Or manufacturer agreement. So who got it? Let's get connected. Let's get the shit flowing. That's huge, because infrastructure markets require standards before mass scaling. Everybody know in manufacturing the term go, no go. We need some go, no goes on this. Okay. You need to build it. I don't want to have to do everything. I'm Pasha. All right. Here's the order. Build this shit before the United States do. Not playing no more. 2030. That's the deadline. Vehicle capability. Now, most EVs today, Elon, cannot use these roads, lack underside receivers, and are not designed for dynamic charging integration. Fix it. Grid infrastructure. Dynamic charging roads would massively impact utilities, grid balancing, transmission capacity, and roadway power management. Makes sense, right? You're putting more stuff into the outlet. Now, for those who've been following me for a while, you remember I showed you when Tiller, Oregon first went on sale for $3.6 to $3.9 million. I told you that would be a great buy. You could put a max population of 1,000 homes on there. But I said, you want to keep it like, get you a little store. You want to save room for that, a little shopping area. The school came with it for $3.9 million. You had a post office. And I said, Philadelphia did free Wi-Fi. You could put that into a city that you're building from scratch, the whole city. I said, at that time, many years ago, solar panel roadways was already a thing. I said, what happens if we build it with solar panel roadways? You wouldn't need Wi-Fi. You wouldn't need electricity service, because that would be free from the roads. And all the great minds can move there and work remotely from around the world. We would be building a new Atlantis. But if we look at this, right, could you imagine the combination of EV charging roadways that was also solar powered? Build it. Now, here's the company I want you to take a look at for y'all that are in the stocks. There was a 12% climb today from the opening at the high point. So, I mean, you see the rest of the market was like 0 point whatever. if you caught this at its high from opening, you gain 12% if you sold. I don't know if you day trade, invest, whatever you do. It dipped and actually went lower than that. It dropped to about 1.1 cent per share, and then it climbed to 0.01.5 cents per share, which is almost a 50% flip. You look into it, you decide. This is not advice. This is entertainment purposes only, but build it, America, before the United States does, because you want to be free. It may find solid ground, DPLS that is, at again the 11 or 11, the 0.01, right? So the 1.1 cent mark, all right? And it's a possibility that by the midday lunch briefly, it could reach a solid 2 cents per share. Now, everybody that, feels like they don't have a chance to be a part of something great. I'm not a paid sponsor at all. I just really appreciate, and those who watch know that I've talked about DarkPulse over the last 4 to 5 years. And this is a great opportunity for you, who wouldn't want to participate in a future without pit stops. I'm Pasha Pablo. Thank you for tuning.